Hey everybody, welcome to Obscurities and Miniatures. It is time for another Friday Obscurity in Literature. And we've got a cool little book here, and it is actually quite little because I've got a bunch of other books by the same author, and they're all kinds of funky sizes, which we'll show you in a moment. But this is Griz Grobus and the Tale of Azkaan's Heart by, well, the main guy, Simon Roy, and his co-conspirators in said book, Jess Pollard and Sergei Nazarov. Now, funny thing about Griz Grobus here is I've been a big fan of Simon Roy's work for some time. This was originally kickstarted, and it has a nice hardcover and the cool gold foil stamped pages and the flashy little bookmark. Where this is available, I don't know. I'm going to try to put a link for you guys to track it down. But I did see this book was recently on the list of possible recipients of some major comic awards, and I was like, oh yeah, that's right, I do have this book. And what's kind of cool about this book is it actually fits in with a lot of Roy's other work. Now, Roy's done a lot of sci-fi stuff. My first taste of his work was when he was working with Brandon Graham on Prophet, which I might add, Image has still yet to put into a nice, big, definitive collected edition. And if there's any book that Image has put out that really, really deserves like a big, oversized, deluxe, European, embellished set of hardcovers, it's the Prophet run that Graham and company did. And anyway, I then started to stumble upon a bunch of Simon Roy's other stuff, like Habitat, which was originally serialized in the anthology comic Island. And one of the really cool things about Simon Roy's work is often the bonus materials are just as interesting as the actual content of the stories. Now, I'm going to save Habitat. Maybe I did a video on it once. I don't even remember. If I didn't, maybe we can rectify that someday in the future. But what's funny is a lot of his designs, and these are going back a couple years now, are still kind of being incorporated into his works. And I'm kind of wondering, not only Habitat has some things that were tying into Griz Grobus. I was looking for Jan's Atomic Heart and Tiger Lung, and I don't know where I put either of those books, but I did find his first knife book, which he wrote, did not draw. That's by Trakanov here on the cover, who did some pinups in Griz Grobus. But similarly, design-wise, has a lot of similar takes and the whole background lore on what's going on in these worlds. There's a lot of stuff there. I don't know if I ever did a video on First Knife either. If we need to fix that, by all means, let me know down in those comments. But yeah, so you can see Griz Grobus here is a little bit smaller than a traditional comic, while Habitat is actually larger than both of them. And I don't know if that was due to its anthology origins, but I don't think Island was any bigger than like a typical American floppy comic. I mean, it was kind of a magazine, but I don't remember it being like magazine sized. I could go check. I actually do have quite a few issues of Island. I don't think I have a complete run, but I did get most of it when it was coming out. So one of the things about the speculative sci-fi stuff that Simon Roy puts out that he really has a nice lock on is there are always these fun little slice of life stories. Sure, there's some danger. Sure, there's some elements of violence and, intricacy of, whatever powers that be are conspiring to do no good. But they all tend to end on a pretty high note. So in this, we've got, researchers that found one of these robots, religious robots, no less, and it is going to educate everybody on the quality of some poisonous root that everybody had to partake of for years on end. And intertwined within this story is we have the tale of Azkaan's Heart, as the title of the book says. And you can see Azkaan here, the god of war. This is actually really important to the story. It's kind of its own thing, and I'm not going to really explain how it all ties in case anybody does want to go track it down, but it's some fun stuff here. And like I said, I'm not going to spoil any of it, but it is absolutely an interesting, fun sci-fi story with some pretty nice little world building. And it moves along at a really steady clip. This thing about his work is I've always felt it has a bit of that lived-in European sci-fi feel to it. It doesn't feel like a lot of American hard sci-fi comics, which tend to be, really over the top and out of control with their elements of magic technology and things like that. There is some of that here, but it's not really integral to the story, and it's a lot more grounded. And a lot of his stories also tend to have, everyday folks kind of dealing with almost like artifacts and relics of a lost bygone era, which is always kind of fun. But as I said, I'm not going to spoil too much of what actually happens in the story. In the back, we do have a nice little gallery of pinups and stuff, but here's one of my favorite things. And I want to say this was originally maybe a stretch goal from the Kickstarter itself. And again, we've got this like whole background story about the world Altamira where the story takes place. None of this has anything really to bear any consequence on the actual story involved, but it's really cool to read. And having looked and owned, and still owning as far as I can tell, I hope, I really don't know where I put Tiger Lung. I keep wanting to say Aqualung, which is a whole other can of worms in terms of comic books. But Jan's Atomic Heart, too. There's just a lot of fun, interesting stuff here to read. I love the weathered, beat-up look of everything. And again, there's a lot of the concepts of his mecha and designs that have traveled throughout these stories. And maybe I need to go double-check. I don't know if Altamira was mentioned in any of the other books. I kind of feel like it might have. But maybe that's just because I reread this the other day and it's fresh on my mind. But it's just a cool little extra tidbit. Again, I'm not going to get into all of the various pinups. Sadly, there were no Brandon Graham ones, and for a lot of Canadian artists in here, I was disappointed about that. And of course, Arjun Trakhanov. That is a fun name to pronounce. This is the artist that did First Knife, whose stuff looks really cool in color, but I honestly think it looks almost better in black and white like that with the screen tone. But again, fun little book. And if you manage to get a hold of it, I'm going to see if I can put a link down there for you guys to take a look at, but we'll also put some links to other Simon Roy stuff if you're interested. I think he's a very talented and accomplished artist, done some interesting things, and really, it's a nice, fun little story. It doesn't have any gruesome anticlimactic ending, but it ends on a nice, wholesome beat, which is something I don't think we see very often, especially in sci-fi books. So kudos to the team putting this book together, Pollard, Roy, and Nazarov. I really enjoyed it. Congratulations on your nominations for those awards, and fingers crossed that you guys get it, because you absolutely deserve it. And hopefully we'll be seeing some more Simon Roy stuff on this channel in the near future, if I haven't already put it. You guys are going to have to check for me, because I'm too lazy, and I'm too tired, and I still need to get a new tripod here. Don't want to bang everything as I'm balancing it precariously for you. So, with that said then, this has been High Lord Tamberlane with Obscurities and Miniatures, saying thanks for watching, and we'll see you back here soon. Bye-bye!